Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today, it's maybe got the potential to be a little bit more controversial than I intend, but I'm going to be talking about artifact power catch-up. This has been an evolving viewpoint for me since the beta, and it really surrounds artifact power and how I think that may have affected some elements of the game. Now, I want to preface this by saying I think a large part of any potential problem is actually solved in 7.1.5, but I'm sure that many of you, like me, have seen a lot of people talk about leaving Legion. Now, this has had me thinking about the game quite a bit, given how I, as you know, really do like the majority of the expansion. Now, earlier I was watching Preach's video covering Ghost's thoughts on the process surrounding Rerolling, and he had mentioned in passing that the hurdle of artifact power gains on his new character was something that actually, was a big factor for him. Now, I am going to run a quick poll of this down in the video description, so be sure to take a look at that. I'm dead keen to see how this has been affecting people, and of course, if it has, or indeed if it has not. I'm also doing a new kind of segment thing in the end card of each video, basically a miniature Q&A thing, because I don't want to fill the channel with Q&A videos, but I do want to have that element of back and forth with you. It's a chance to answer questions, respond to past videos. I'll keep them brief, but just, post any questions that you might have down below, and it can be on anything, any game. It can be World of Warcraft, or it cannot be. Anything's good. Now, previously, I had tackled this stuff from the perspective of your main being your main, and your alt just being a side character that you kind of only half cared about. Now, the more I've been considering about fully swapping mains myself, the more serious this, all of these problems have sort of became, and the more that I felt a little bit more pushed back by the prospect of having to grind up the AP on the new character. Now, while I was thinking about this for myself, my mind, of course, wandered on to what it might be like for other people. Those who maybe feel bored by their class choice at the minute, and they also feel like they've done most of the pre-raid content. I thought it could be that, it's the case that this big perceived artifact power wall is a factor that dampens the excitement on embarking on a new main character. So I ran a quick poll on Twitter. That's science. No, it's not science at all. It's far from scientific, but the people who said that they had been considering re-rolling, or of those people, most said that AP was a factor in them deciding not to. Now, the response that I got from people who responded to that poll was saying that they felt a bit changed to their characters that had the legendaries and had all of that stuff done, and that going through that process again was a bit daunting to them. So overall, I think it's a super interesting game design discussion to have, because I suspect artifact power has been successful in other areas, and it kind of brings me on to the parallel with Diablo 3. Paragon points are basically an account-wide endgame progression, but that wasn't always the case. They used to be on a character-by-character basis. Now, the Diablo team then made them account-wide. The big difference, though, is that the power of Paragon levels is tiny in comparison to the effects that, say, a well-traded artifact weapon has in World of Warcraft. So making artifact power account-wide, I think, would really nullify that power on a character-by-character basis, but, as I talked about earlier, the opposite feeling of having this kind of large, grindy wall does seem to exist as well. Now, for players of the big, organized guild, it's probably just as simple as crushing through a bunch of Mythic and Mythic Plus dungeons on their new character, getting the AP super quick. But for other players, I would hazard that maybe the majority of players, it's a case of doing world quests, and some queues, and a lot of world quests, content that they will have already done on their main character, therefore that grind feels even bigger. As a quick aside, I think World of Warcraft has completely nailed group content, and that's brilliant, but it's a bit lacking in the solo stuff. I think that the future of WoW should really lie in dynamic, player-driven content. Imagine the content of Guild Wars 2, but with EVE Online kind of sandboxish stuff mixed in. It's something I want to cover in a later video, but just hold that thought. Anyway, I suspect that this perceived wall of time and effort is being kind of off-putting. Normally we see people focus on their mains for like 2 months, and then they go for alts. And I absolutely have no numbers to support this, but I would have to wonder if that type of player has been a bit disconcerted in Legion, and maybe that's leading to them getting bored, because by the time they want to switch over to that new alt, they have this big new wall that they didn't have in previous expansions. Now, I should also mention that most of the relevant artifact power stuff can be had super quickly, especially with a few ranks of artifact knowledge, so a part of this could just be player perception, and people not appreciating how much faster their alts can progress through the artifact traits. So what could Blizzard do to fix this? Well, I don't think that going the D3 route and just having AP be account-wide is the right way to do it, and I actually think that patch 7.1.5's artifact compendium system is an excellent fix to the problem, and I wish they had have came out with that a bit sooner. Most of us are going to be able to get our alts instantly to artifact knowledge rank 20. That's enough to get pretty much all your needed traits within like a day or two, which I think is a pretty good amount of time. So I think that a good mantra for a lot of this alt-related stuff is that you should probably have to do the one-off content on your new characters, but the repeatable stuff should be accelerated for your other characters. How's that done? Well, I think if you get Exalted Rep with, Exalted with a Rep, you should be able to get a percentage-based experience boost on your other characters. Maybe it's like MOP, where you mail a rep token to your alt character, and then it gets like 200% more rep of that faction. I think that something like that is pretty good, and really, this patch 7.1.5 artifact companion system, perhaps I think that's something that just should have been there from launch. For the most part, I'm just interested in what you've got to say about AP with this one, especially if you felt like AP has really influenced your decision making with this expansion. And I suppose an element of me making this video is trying to get to the bottom of why I think some players may have quit Legion, because it got so much positive press and positive opinion from, a lot of the YouTube people, a lot of the press as well. But, we found that after 2 months, I was just noticing a lot of comments on my videos, people saying, nah, I've quit this expansion already, it lasted 2 months, bored of my main character, I'm gone. Whereas I feel like maybe in the past, when people reached that point, they might have decided to do an alt instead, and that maybe would have kept them going on for another month or two. And I'm just wondering if that may have been a factor with Legion. But anyway, that is the video. And on the topic of the little Q&A end section, this is the first one, so I don't have any questions to answer. So yeah, just throw some questions down in the comments of this video, or hit me up on Twitter, both are good, and hopefully we can just make a cool little thing at the end of the videos. But that's it for me, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.